Think about the Sumerians, often called the dawn of civilization. Their great gift to the world was writing, a tool they used to record their stories, their laws, and their beliefs about their gods, the Anunnaki, beings they said descended from the heavens. But what if that gift was a clever deception? What if the first words ever written weren't meant to enlighten, but to control? We think the Anunnaki's biggest lie has finally been exposed. And it's not just about whether they were gods or aliens from another planet. The real secret is what they may have forced humanity to forget. Stick with us as we uncover the history that might have been erased the moment the first stylus touched clay. In the sun-scorched plains of Mesopotamia, something extraordinary happened. Around 3,500 BCE, a society emerged with a sophistication that still baffles historians. We call them the Sumerians. They gave us the wheel, sprawling cities, complex law, and a revolutionary way to keep track of it all. Cuneiform, considered the world's first true writing system. The official story, the one taught in schools, is that writing was developed for practical reasons, like managing trade and administration. It started with simple pictures for grain and livestock that slowly became abstract symbols capable of capturing complex ideas. And the ideas they captured were staggering. They wrote of their gods, a pantheon they called the Anunnaki, which can be translated as those who from heaven to earth came. These weren't distant, ethereal gods. The ancient texts described them as physical beings who lived in temples and managed vast estates. And according to their own records, like the Atrahasis epic, the gods created humanity from clay for a single purpose: to be their servants and take over the burden of their labor. This is the story the Sumerians were given, the history they wrote. But here is where the story we've been told begins to fracture. What if this incredible leap forward, this gift of writing, wasn't a gift at all? What if it was the most sophisticated tool of control ever invented? Some believe this divine invention was actually a mechanism to orchestrate a complete cultural reset, a way to overwrite humanity's true, far more ancient origins and replace it with a new history. A history in which the Anunnaki are the beginning, the middle, and the end. The lie isn't that they came from the sky, the lie is what they did when they got here. To understand the scale of this potential deception, you have to appreciate the power of cuneiform. Imagine a world with no recorded history. Everything you know about your past, your ancestors, your gods, is passed down through oral tradition, a fragile chain of memory that can change with every generation. Now, imagine a ruling class introduces a technology that can make words permanent. Carved in clay and baked in the sun, these records are almost unchangeable. The hundreds of thousands of clay tablets unearthed in modern-day Iraq reveal a society micromanaged in stunning detail. They show labor assignments, food rations, and legal judgments, all organized by a sprawling bureaucracy that controlled nearly every aspect of Sumerian life. From one perspective, this wasn't just record-keeping. It was the software for a new social order. With writing, the rulers, speaking as gods or their chosen priests, could issue commands, set laws, and most importantly, write history as they saw fit. They could define who was a god and who was a servant. They could create a permanent record that established their authority as absolute and divinely ordained. Any story or history that existed before cuneiform was instantly rendered obsolete, hearsay from the illiterate. In this view, they didn't just invent writing. They may have weaponized it to create a historical firewall, cutting humanity off from its own past. But no firewall is perfect. Cracks have appeared in the official narrative, hinting at a world that existed before this great reset. The first clue is the Sumerian language itself. It's what linguists call a language isolate, meaning it has no known relatives, living or dead. It appears in the historical record almost fully formed, with no obvious ancestor. Now, linguists will tell you this is a rare but known phenomenon. But for those questioning the standard narrative, it's a bit too convenient. How does a language that complex just appear? Was it a natural development, Or was it more like an operating system, installed on a culture that had its previous memory wiped clean? The questions don't stop there. For decades, Sumer was considered the starting point for massive stone structures. But then archaeologists unearthed Göbekli Tepe in modern-day Turkey, dated to around 9,600 BCE, a stunning 6,000 years before the great cities of Sumer. This site features massive, intricately carved T-shaped pillars arranged in complex circles. The bombshell? It was built by people who were supposedly nomadic hunter-gatherers. Göbekli Tepe proves that highly organized, large-scale ritual and construction existed millennia before the Sumerians. Mainstream archaeology is still grappling with how to fit Göbekli Tepe into our understanding of the past. But from our perspective, the question becomes terrifyingly direct. What happened in the 6,000 years between the sophisticated builders of Göbekli Tepe and the rise of Sumer? History books describe this period as a slow crawl toward agriculture. But is it possible that civilizations rose and fell in that time? Could there have been a rich cultural heritage of art, stories, and spirituality that was systematically devalued and erased by a new power with a new, dominant technology, writing? So why would anyone go to such lengths? Why orchestrate a deliberate campaign of cultural amnesia? The motive, as with so much in history, could come down to power and control. According to the Sumerian texts themselves, like the Atrahasis, the gods created humanity to be slaves. They were tired of the toil of maintaining the earth, so they fashioned a worker race to do it for them. To maintain control over a workforce, you can't allow them to have a history or an identity that empowers them. You can't have them believing they are the descendants of great builders, or that they possess an ancestral connection to the divine that is independent of you. By erasing the past, these rulers could position themselves as the sole source of everything: civilization, knowledge, life itself. They weren't just rulers, they were creators. Humanity owed its very existence to them, and its purpose was simple: to serve. This ideology is the ultimate tool of control. There is chilling evidence of just how absolute this control could be. At the ancient city of Ur, the archaeologist Sir Leonard Woolley discovered what he called the Great Death Pit. Here, he found the bodies of 74 individuals, mostly women, arranged in neat rows and adorned with gold and precious stones. For years, the theory was that they had willingly taken poison to accompany their master into the afterlife. However, later analysis of the skulls revealed a much grimmer possibility: evidence of blunt force trauma. While interpretations are still debated among archaeologists, the evidence for execution has led some to question the willing sacrifice theory. If they were executed, it was a ritual of absolute, terrifying power, a demonstration of what happens when a society believes its rulers are gods and that their lives are disposable. This brings us to the Anunnaki's biggest lie. It isn't simply the theory popularized by authors like Zecharia Sitchin, who argued these gods were extraterrestrials from a planet called Nibiru who came to mine gold. While that theory has opened millions of minds to question the past, it remains focused on who the Anunnaki were. The true deception may be far deeper. It's about what they did. The biggest lie is not that they were aliens instead of gods. The biggest lie is the idea that human history began with them. A gift of writing may have been the mechanism for a complete cultural hijacking. It could have allowed them to take humanity's deep, ancient, and perhaps even spiritually profound past and overwrite it with a new story. A story of servitude. A story where humans are born into debt to their creators. This forces us to re-examine every great Sumerian myth, from the Enuma Elish to the Epic of Gilgamesh. Are they truly original stories? Or could they be the repurposed, rebranded memories of an older pre-Sumerian world, now twisted to fit the new narrative of control? This reframes our entire understanding of antiquity. It suggests that human culture is not a simple, linear progression. Instead, it might be a story of suppression and recovery, of a deep human heritage that was buried under the foundations of our first cities, a heritage that existed for thousands of years in the shadows of sites like Göbekli Tepe, a heritage that has been fighting to be remembered ever since. The Anunnaki may be long gone, but their system could remain. Their lie may have become the foundation of history. We are told that history is written by the victors. But what if it was written by beings who wanted us to forget we were ever anything but the vanquished? What if the truth isn't buried in a lost tomb, but is hidden in plain sight in the very first words ever written? This new perspective forces us to ask some unsettling questions. We see the Sumerian template of gods creating humanity for servitude, of sacred texts that establish divine law, of a priestly class that interprets history, echoed in cultures and religions across the globe. Could this be the legacy of the Anunnaki's story, a kind of mimetic virus that infected human civilization at its birth? The implications are profound. It could mean our search for an understanding of human consciousness, our connection to the cosmos, and our own potential has been deliberately sabotaged from the very beginning. We've been working from a corrupted file, but now the cracks are showing. The lie is being exposed. We are beginning to see the history that was written over. And as we piece it back together, we may finally discover who we were before they told us who we should be. What other gifts from the gods do we need to re-examine? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to continue uncovering the truths hidden in our ancient past, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell.